Hey guys, since they have announced the Nian banner in the game, I feel like it is roughly about time for me to make a video and talk about this and give my recommendations. So if you don't want to listen to my recommendation, you just want to hear like what my opinions are on the operators, you can skip to the timestamps down below. I have them down in the description. Let's begin. So this is our first limited banner with 2 new 6 stars as rate up. And our first new limited operator, Nian. And this is a huge deal because we've never had limited operators. And instead of our usual event banners where we get a new 6 star that is 50-50 chance of rate up and non-rate up, this time we have a 70 to 30 chance. You might think this is pretty good, but you have to look at it at its core, right? It is 70% of 6 stars shared between Nian and Ark, and I here assume that it is a even chance of Nian and Ark, which makes it 35% of 6 stars being Nian and 35% of 6 stars being Ark. And if you look at the 2% chance of pulling a 6 star, that's roughly 0.7% chance to pull Nian and 0.7% chance to pull Ark. I don't really like to make comparisons like this between games, and especially how Arknights has the whole pity system in play. But if you think about the 0.7% chance, you can think roughly of FGO, and I think you can see where I'm going with this, right? So yes, the pity system. If you haven't read the whole thing of these huge long paragraphs of how this banner is going to work, this banner is very different. So with our usual old banners, event banners or normal banners that's rotating, for every single pool that you haven't got a 6 star, like let's say on this first banner you did like 10 pull, and then the one you did another 10 pull, and then you combine to have 50 pulls without a single 6 star, the pity system kicks in, right? And then the 51st pull, there's a 4% chance for a 6 star, and it goes increasing. But that is shared between different banners. However, those pity counts of yours does not count in this banner. So you will be starting from 0 in this banner. That's the first thing. So that already hurts enough. Second of all is that we have 2 6 stars as rate up. And the third thing that I have to talk about before I actually recommend how I would recommend people pulling this banner, I have to talk about the next limited banner that we'll be getting, limited operator banner. Yes, there is already a second one in the Chinese version of this game, and they have implemented this new system where if you pull 300 pulls, you can grab one of the rate up 6 stars for free. So let's say in that new banner, I pulled 300 pulls and I've only got the normal operator but not get the limited operator. After 300 pulls, I can grab that limited operator for free. That system isn't here. So that's why I have to recommend, if you're not a super huge whale that you can spend as much as you want in this game, and at 300 pulls. Since that the Chinese version has already announced that they will do a rerun on this banner, and all the pulls that you have done on this banner will be counted towards the guaranteed like grab thing. So as an example, right? I pull 300 pulls right now on this banner, right now, and I stop. When we get the rerun of this banner again, like in the future, I don't know when, but then the system will count that I've already done 300 pulls and I'll just get Nian for free. Even though I haven't really pulled in that banner yet, I would just get Nian for free the next time. So that is why for the majority of us, I would recommend just stop at 300. Obviously, like I said, if you're a whale, you don't have to care. If you are just like a huge fan of Nian, like you like how she looks, you like the voice actor, which is Yuki Aoi, very famous, I love her as well, then understandably you can spend more, but just for the majority of us, 300 I think is a fair point to stop at most. Personally, I would recommend getting 1 or 2, sometimes maybe even 2 of the 6 star rate up 6 stars. So let's say If you get Nian and Arc, that would be perfect, right? But if you get double Arc, you can even save for the next time when the rerun hits us anyway, so you don't have to pull too much. But the operators, how good are the operators is what we have to consider when we're pulling, right? So let's talk about that real quick. The first one obviously will be Nian, and she is a defender, a support defender. You might think, wait, how does that work? No rush, okay? Let me explain. So, first of all, her talent increased all defender HP, max HP, by a maximum of 20% with enough potentials. So 16% is what I assume most of us will be getting. And her second talent gives her 3 shields, which just blocks 3 attacks. So if you're doing it against the boss, that can be pretty good. If you're doing like a horde of enemies, that's probably not what you need, what you'll care about. But still, nice to have, nonetheless. Her skills are what is really interesting. So her first skill is increased defense, increased attack, and normal damage. Normal attack turns into magic damage. So that's pretty nice. You can think of Hoshi's skill 1, but because she deals magic damage and the increased attack at E2 level 90 with over 600 attack, you can think of this as a 900 base damage magic attack, which is pretty awesome, right? But it is still really similar to Hoshiguma, and you're not expecting a defender to be dealing that much damage anyway. Her skill 2 though stops attacking enemy, defense increased by a lot, block count +1, and every time she's attacked, reflect 90% of her damage as magic damage. 90% of her attack as magic damage. Pretty nice, and silence the enemy for 5 seconds. So think of this as Korra skill 2, plus Hoshi skill 2, plus Lapland silence, but for a duration. So the block is obviously very nice. I don't have to repeat myself. If you love Korra, you would love Nian. Skill 2. If you think that you can use this as Hoshiguma's skill 2, so just as reflect damage, so let's say you want to hit the drones and such, this is not what you want to use this skill for, because yes, there is a duration, and Hoshiguma's skill 2 is more like a passive, so it is always there. So unless the stage only requires this reflect damage of like 35 seconds at most, I won't recommend this skill to be used for that purpose. Silencing the enemy looks good on paper, but you have to understand that when you're dealing silence to enemies, you're mostly dealing with those spiders that explode, right? No matter if it's the eyes or just explosive spiders. And they are usually quite brittle or squishy, and most of the time they'll just die to a range attack. So having this when attack silence enemy isn't really like the best way for implementing silence. I would rather have like waifu to just appear and then stun and then retreat. I think that is a way better way, or just even have Lapland. It is good to have, but it is not what you want to use this skill for, or I should say, it is not what you want to get Nian for. Her skill 3 is also very interesting. She gets at most plus 120% attack. All nearby allies gain plus 80% defense and block count. And resistance, but I don't really think resistance is that big of a deal. The block count to all allies is very interesting on the other hand. So the defense is obviously nice, but when you apply the block count +1 to, let's say, other defenders, that is obviously very nice as well, but towards AoE guards like Blaze and Spectre, because they actually attack the same amount of enemies as their block count, so usually at E2 that is they block 3, so they attack 3 enemies at once. With this skill activated, they can block 4 and hit 4 enemies at once. So this is a pretty nice boost to them. Also, that increased defense will also help a lot. So in general, I think her skill 3 is why she is called the support defender, right? Having this skill is genuinely pretty good. That's Nian. she's a good operator. She's hot, but if you ask me if she's really needed, not really. There are some strategies that you can implement like based around her, surrounding her. But if you just want a good tank, just bring your Hoshi and your Zarya. You do just fine, right? Now, the second 6-star. This is very rare. We got new 6-star to talk about. We got Ark. He's a specialist with range attack and attack range similar to a normal single target sniper, like Extra, Blue Poison, or even Cruise. So the attack range is pretty interesting. He's got decent attack power, so he can deal some damage. And with his attack interval of 1.3 seconds, he's not really a sniper to say, but he can be a sub-attacker on the field. Yes, he does decrease his own HP over time, but that is completely pretty much covered by his talent, that when he attacks enemies, there's this random effect that will trigger, which is recovering HP to himself, increase attack, slow the target for 1.4 seconds at E2, and stun the target at 1 second at E2. So any one of them hitting would be pretty nice, and obviously you would have medics on the field. So this is not really like his thing of decreasing his HP over time isn't really that big of a deal for me. And also he's got healing received by himself plus 20% at E2 as his second talent. So there really isn't too much to worry about in terms of healing, especially he's got 2000 HP at max level, right? His skill 1 makes him more of a damage dealer, so you would pretty much use him as a sniper, I would say, in this sense. Duration of 30 seconds and attack speed plus 100. Think of like SMG level. It's pretty fast. Pretty nice as a damage dealer, so you can use it this way. But skill 2 is where things gets interesting. So he immediately attacks the closest ally in front of him for 15 times and 500 attack power each. And then grants defense and max HP by 80% to himself and the target that he attacks, so your ally. So this is a buffer after he deals the damage to the target. You might think, oh, that's still fine. Like if you're doing this to like a defender like Hoshiguma, this is like a free buff. And yes, that is true. But his skill 3, on the other hand, is even more interesting. So his skill 3 does the same thing. Attacks the nearest ally in front of him 15 times with 500 attack power. And grants attack by 50% and attack speed by 50 to himself and the target ally. So let's make an example. Exia would be very nice to have this increased attack and increased attack speed, right? So let's see Exia, who has 1600 HP and 161 defense. So literally, this skill will one-shot Exia. This is what you call a top-tier team killing machine. Literally, he's so good at team killing. You might say, oh, well, maybe I can use it on Silver Ash, who can tank this damage and get that super good buff of plus attack and plus attack speed on, let's say, the true Silver Slash, which is already an OP skill. But my question is, does Silver Ash really need that? Right? Silver Ash skill 3 is already OP enough as it is, and then you're buffing him with another operator. Also, don't forget that because when you're using Silver Ash's skill 3, he has decreased defense, so you have to activate Ark's skill first, and then activate Silver Ash's skill. If you get it the wrong way, Silver Ash is dead. So it's not the best skill to use on Silver Ash as well. So pretty much this skill is very limited to where you want to use it, and most of the time I would just bring another operator in instead of having this buffer, right? Or I can just have Sora, who can do buffs anyway. So in general, Ark is an interesting character to have, but if you ask me, do you really need him? No. Now, we're done with the 6 stars. I still have to talk about the last, which is the 5-star defender. I can't really pronounce his name, I'm sorry, but this is a healing defender. So think of Nero or, yeah, Nero. But instead of Nero, actually think of him as a less good version of her. First of all, because he's a furry. And a furry isn't really for me, you know? I won't judge if you like him, but just not me. His talents are nice, increased defense and all that. That's good. And his skill. So, his skill is an AoE heal, which is nice to have, but you can also get a similar effect with Nero's skill 2 anyway. So this really isn't that significant. His skill 2 is also AoE heal, but he stops attacking and grants himself increased attack and defense, but also increased attack interval. So think of him as a 2.5 second attack interval healer that can block 3 at once, and healed ally grants a extra SP. Not really. I would use Saria if I really have to. Obviously, if you don't have Saria and you feel like Nero herself really isn't enough and you don't want to level Gumi and you like furry, yes, you can use him. But if you have Nero plus Gumi, I wouldn't even bother considering him if you don't like furries or you're not into furries and you're more into waifus. I think that is easy enough as a recommendation. So that is done with this banner. I hope you guys get lucky with this banner because I bet you really need that luck, especially with if you want to get Nian. And personally, I will be pulling this banner. I will stop at maximum of 100 pulls, and if I can't get both of them by then, which by high chance I won't be getting both of them, Nian and Ark, I will wait for the rerun. Usually I would try to get all operators, but this time around I will have to stop because, a bit of a spoiler, there is 2 operators that are coming. KO and then Bagpipe, right? And Bagpipe is an operator that I would definitely want, especially with high potential. So I really want to start saving my my Orundums and my money towards those banners, and instead going full in on this banner just to get both of them because I have to, or something like that. And obviously I will be streaming the pool after the reset when the banner is already out, so feel free to join me on Twitch if you want to watch that, or I will be uploading the pool video to YouTube as usual. So I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!